Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back to today's episode. Sorry it's on a Thursday. We know that it's a little bit behind schedule. We wanted to release something on Monday, but unfortunately life does get in the way of things. As I'm sure you've all seen, some crazy news has been going down over the past couple of days. Adrian Newey is set to be released and to leave Red Bull Racing. Um, Obviously, he's been an absolute mecca of that team. He's been a giant of the industry for countless years now, probably the single most successful person in Formula One history. And now he's a free agent, which is making the silly season even more silly, a lot more crazy. As always, joining me here today to talk about all of the crazy news, Chris, how are you doing?
Craziest part about all of this is this isn't even traditional silly season. This whole season has just been silly season. I mean, it's been crazy. I'm really excited. I think the sport is in such a good place right now with all this drama, this excitement. Bad how the drama started, but I do think we did need some explosions in F1. Again, just to reemphasize, unfortunate the way it happened, but it's been so predictable these last few years, man. Red Bull now facing a potential downfall. Yeah. So yeah, let's get into it, man.
Yeah, I mean, where else to start? Obviously, we can. I think we should start around kind of Adrian Newey's career thus far. Um, Kind of making his first splash in 1992 with the Williams camp. That was his first championship winning car. He had done a little bit of work on design beforehand, but the first championship winning car, 1992 in the Williams. Um, that's kind of
I
where
believe his first car that he designed was only 4 years earlier, in 1988. So that's a super quick ramp up period, eh?
a ridiculous little bit of stats. But yeah, I mean, how can you even discredit the guy in any way at the moment? Since 1992 until the present date, he has been one of the most valuable assets in Formula One. He's been the most successful car designer in the history of Formula One, I believe. Um, I've actually got some stats here in front of me. According to F1stats.com, 213 wins, 12 constructors' titles, over 300 pole positions, and over 350 podiums in cars that he has designed. Which don't I mean I really haven't done research into the likes of like a Colin Chapman or any of those, but I do believe that that is the highest statistical, the highest amount of wins, the highest amount of constructors that any single car designer has been involved in.
I think the only argument you can make for Colin Chapman is being more influential, but I still don't think that's true. I think there is no greater car designer than Adrian Newey. I completely agree with you, bro.
For sure. And I mean, just even let's look at his Red Bull stint. Since the start of Red Bull Racing, Adrian Newey has been heavily involved since back when they were still in the Jaguar days. Since that date, over 100 Grand Prix wins. The initial, I believe it was 46 to 48 between the start of 2010 to the end of 2013, or the start of 2009 to the end of 2013, and then all of the rest have just come with Max. And obviously there was also some Daniel wins in there, but obviously the big
Don't
influential.
forget the four Checo wins or something like that.
Yeah, that's true as well. But you know what? That gets overshadowed very highly by kind of Max's dominance over the past few years.
100%.
And statistically, we've never seen a more dominant F1 car than we saw in 2023. Well, technically we have. There was one car that had a 100% win rate. That was the Tyrrell with the fan on the back. But that only competed in one Grand Prix. So if you discount that,
Doesn't count.
it's the most
Minimum
successful.
10 races, it is the most successful.
Exactly that. So
That is jaw dropping. And I mean, I think what really amazes me from Adrian Newey is it's not like he always plays it safe, you know, and that's the most impressive thing is he's a guy that swings for the ballpark fences, and 9 times out of 10 it's a home run. And as we've seen in the past, it's not small home runs, it's this wildly insane new design concept that a lot of the teams did not think of, and boom, it works like a dream.
And I mean, just speaking on that, I think the one that jumps out to me directly into my head, well, there's two. There's kind of the Red Bull blown diffuser, and then I think the one that I immediately jumped to is the active suspension that they used to run in the Williams back in the early days or the early 90s when they started picking up dominance in that category of cars. There's always some innovation coming out of the Newey camp, and the fact that Red Bull is losing him, I would love to speak a little bit more into kind of the ramifications and effects of that kind of as we go on in the stream.
Yeah.
But I think that this is a massive blow to Red Bull Racing.
Jordan, you're forgetting one car that I don't know how many people know, but I know you know about it. But the 98 McLaren, which
Yes.
had two brake pedals.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You could lock one tire to make it turn in more because very, very short for the rest of our audience. Basically, cars were struggling to understeer because struggling on exit. They were spinning too much, so the cars had huge understeer. And Adrian Newey just went, just put another brake pedal and make the inside tires lock, and that way the car will turn. Off
And
they go to beat Michael Schumacher for 2 championships in
and
Ferrari.
exactly what I was
Well,
going to
that was
say.
for McLaren.
That led
Yeah.
to one of the most intense, one of the most exciting rivalries we've seen in Formula One in the past 3-4
100%.
decades. I mean, obviously you had like Senna Prost, but Hakkinen and Mika Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher had one of the most exciting Formula One rivalries I've ever heard of. Obviously, I wasn't watching at the time; I wasn't born yet. But
Yeah.
going back into the
Both of us
F1
missed that.
archives, watching those races back again, just the amount of
Yeah.
racecraft those kind of innovations allow you to come up with, kind of sacrificing entry and positioning your car correctly to get good corner exits. It's such a good testament to the brain of Adrian Newey. I've always kind of
100%.
shat on him and I said I hate his little Hello Kitty notepad because I've been mad that he keeps beating Ferrari. But at the end of the day, you cannot fault him. He is the technical genius of all technical
Yeah.
geniuses.
I'd also like to highlight that the only major down period he's had in 20 years was Red Bull when they had the Renault engine. And that was from no fault of his own. You take that Red Bull to Monaco, bam, win. Because there's hardly any engine needed there in terms of power compared to the rest of the car. And that again just speaks also to just his consistency. I mean, they were still comfortably second, and if they had an engine, let's be honest, 80% of the Merc, they would be fighting because, wow, what a man.
Exactly that.
I think should we start diving into the juice of his departure? Let's say.
I completely agree. We definitely should. So, obviously, back we haven't had we really haven't had much development on the story. What was happening with Christian Horner, but rumors are that Adrian Newey was actually profoundly upset by that. He really,
Yeah.
really, really did not like the way Red Bull handled the situation. He didn't like the fact that, and I mean, he's always been a private man. Even he's released a statement now that he wasn't happy that Red Bull came out public with his departure, and he's always just been a very private guy, kind of run of the mill, likes to fly under the radar. And I don't think he liked that attention being drawn, and I don't think he liked being associated with that kind of that kind of negative story that can have such a hectic impact on one person's career.
100%. And I mean, yeah, I really do. I like him. He's very humble, very grounded, and yeah, I 100% agree. I think this whole thing of him in the limelight and now him in the spotlight, everyone wants to ask him a question. That's not happy for him. Yeah, he wasn't happy about it at all. There was also somewhere that I saw that it was also he knew the person relatively well, but I didn't trust the source, so I'm not gonna stick to that. But it also makes me, let's say, more positive about him in the way that shows a lot of character. He looked at this, thought, man, I'm not happy with how this went. I'm out. I don't want to be attached to this. I don't want to be a part of it. And credit, really outstanding guy, it seems.
Exactly that, and I mean, obviously, Red Bull's been in PR mode. A lot of people have been giving them flack about the date of release of this news. Obviously, they released it on the first. They released it on the 1st of May, which is the 30-year anniversary of Ayrton Senna's passing.
That seems salty to Adrian Newey, if you ask me. Like,
I mean, it's so petty, dude. I really think that was a move kind of plotted out to kind of screw with his
there's
head
no
a
ways
bit.
they didn't know. Like, there's no ways they didn't think about that.
If you go back to the 1994 season and you see Adrian Newey's demeanor, even though he was cleared of culpability from Ayrton Senna's incident and the crash, and he was cleared of any wrongdoing with the development of the car, if you see his demeanor for the rest of the season, and even the seasons following, you know how badly that crash impacted him as a person.
100%.
Because I feel like he's the kind of person who would take the blame on himself for that, because he feels I had the influence to create a car that wouldn't have done this. And
Correct, and I think it's also a case of him expecting better from himself to have seen the possible mistake.
exactly that, yeah, no, and I just think it's such a weasel move, especially. I know a lot of people I saw on Twitter, especially a lot of people are like, so what? It's been 30 years. It's just another day. It's not. Like, come on. This is
Ayrton
Formula.
Senna will never die.
This is if Ayrton Senna had not passed away, would we even have a debate for who's the GOAT to the sport? We'll never know. That's why we have to put so much respect
100%.
onto the guy's name. We cannot just write this off as another day. And the people who are trying to defend Red Bull on Twitter, on Instagram, in the comment sections, I mean, it's just ridiculous. You have to pay some respect to that man. And one day out of the year to memorialize him, especially in an F1 context, that's not asking too much.
I agree, and it's not like, again, as you said, it's not like it's quiet and people have moved on. Every first of my, like, people are all over social media posting, saying, and as they should, because exactly as you said, he could have been the GOAT, because when he passed away, is right as Michael won his championship, you know? So Michael then won 95, 96. Senna doesn't die. Who knows who wins those two? So 100%, and I just feel in a world of Formula One with data, analytics, knowledge about all things going on, and PR mega teams, as Red Bull, their PR team is working. They knew. Surely they knew. And if they didn't, then you need a new PR team or you just need finer attention to details. But that team, I don't believe it.
Well, brother, I don't know. I don't know if you saw, but Red Bull had a bit of a shocker as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't realize, because they had a bit of a shocker. They said that Sebastian Vettel in the Toro Rosso ended up winning his first Grand Prix in 2008, which was a little bit of a yikes. I mean, surely you can just go onto Wikipedia and Google the date that it happened. Like,
But it was 2008, wasn't it?
no, it was 2007. I'm relatively sure. Pretty sure. Pretty sure it was Monza 2007.
Jordan,
Am I getting gaslit
this
here?
this is bad. It's 2008, brother.
Oh wait, maybe I'm stupid. Wait, then I have beef. I have beef with another YouTuber.
Season Vettel joined Toro Rosso for the rest of the year and 2008,
Wait.
and then moved to Red Bull in 09.
I think I got that the wrong way around. I think that they must have put 2007 because there's a YouTuber named Law VS who I was watching a YouTube video from earlier today, and he was shitting on Red Bull for releasing the wrong date for that. So maybe I've gotten those two mixed up. That's actually very poor on me.
I don't doubt that you knew the dates, and then the YouTube video shocked you so much that you got rattled, because honestly, your own team to not remember their first win? Come on!
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
or Seb Vettel's first win, their first championship driver's first win.
for sure. And I mean, yeah, okay, it's poor on me for maybe not double checking that fact, but also shame on Red Bull for posting it in the first place. Like, I don't know, that's quite poor in my eyes. There's a chance that they didn't know what today was, but I mean, if you're in Formula One, if you understand the heritage, if you know the history of Formula One, the 1st of May is kind of sacred in a Formula One context. Especially we're coming up to the Imola Grand Prix sometime soon. That has to be in some people's minds, and that's the first thing that I don't know. But it's the first thing I think about when I think of Imola. I think of Ayrton Senna's crash, and I don't know. I really disagree with kind of what Red Bull's doing. They seem to have like PR nightmare after PR nightmare after PR nightmare at the moment.
It's almost as if their leader thinks that he is like the greatest principal of all time, and he can do anything.
Isn't that exactly what he said? I believe his exact words.
I was hoping you'd catch that.
I believe his exact words were. Oh, I saw an article. I don't know what his exact words were, but I saw an article where Christian Horner was claiming that he was the mega mind behind Red Bull's success. And
his exact words were, "He's the architect of success."
Yeah, I don't know. Granted, I mean, yeah, he put the right pieces of the puzzle together, but he's not a very technical team principal. He's not a very, I don't know. He's
a manager.
Yeah, and I don't know why he's doing what he's doing at the moment. I think he's trying to just sway public opinion to cement his position as a team principal, because I feel like once all of the pieces fall away and Red Bull loses competitiveness, he's going for sure. That's when kind of
It has, yeah.
yeah, that's when Oliver Mintzlaff and the Taiwanese, or I believe it's Taiwanese side of Red Bull, is just going to cut their ties. They're going to say, listen, you're not doing it for us anymore. It's time for you to go, and they're going to bring in somebody else.
I must say he is living up to his James Bond sort of persona quite well, because he's trying to show, I've got everything under control. It's all good. It's all calm. And the funniest thing is, I don't think people are believing him. To look at your team that started with the greatest designer of all time, then you have Dr. Helmut Marko, who's problematic in his own ways, but is arguably one of the greatest driver scouts in the sport currently, in terms of what they're doing for youth development. I I'm just most curious about what would happen if Dietrich Mateschitz was still alive. How much I think Christian would have been done a while ago.
I promise you, if Dietrich Mateschitz was still around, Christian Horner would have been fired on the spot the moment the allegations dropped. He was that kind of no-nonsense character. It's not...
Exactly.
And
PR.
exactly that. And I don't know what Red Bull's doing at the moment. They actually... We've had Ferrari being the butt of the joke of Formula One for quite a while now with their terrible pit stops and shit strategy. And, eventually... We had Nicholas Latifi, who was always catching the flack from fans, and then we had, obviously, Michael Massey was the next, terrorist of Formula One, and now it's just become Christian Horner in the space of 3 months.
It's the Christian Horner show. This year's the Christian Horner show.
And he has completely derailed and ruined the credibility of Red Bull Racing, which I just cannot see how the Taiwanese side or Oliver Mintzlaff has allowed this to slide. Because it's honestly
You know
shocking.
why? I think the only reason this has been allowed to slide is because of the power struggle at Red Bull. Is that he, being the James Bond sly, cunning fox that he is, straight up, let's be honest, like the sly bitch, I think he is just pitching both sides against each other and just sitting in no man's land, because everyone's so busy fighting for the company that he's just sitting there going, well, I'm on the team. Nobody gives a shit about the team right now in the grander scheme of things. So who's going to fire me? How are they going to replace me? Who's going to be able to replace me in terms of who's got the eye for the talent for the next team principal? And credit where credit's due. He is playing some good chess. But man, I hate him.
Me as well. I mean, I don't know. I'll be the first to admit when kind of Max and Lewis were fighting in 2021, and I was quite behind Red Bull because I just wanted to see kind of a change of the guard.
It's a Mercedes fan, same.
But I don't know. From that point onwards, I've just seen more and more and more of him, and he is just such a dislikable character. He is like, as you said, he's literally living up to a James Bond persona, and I don't know. He is playing chess well, where he's kind of just concreting himself into a position of authority in the team. Now that everything's kind of falling apart, he's trying to rally everybody behind him and kind of put him on the pedestal to kind of settle the ship. But I really, as I've said so many times before, the Red Bull PR team deserves a raise, because they have been working overtime since the start of this year, just overtime.
I think if they were in second in the championship, they'd be having a much harder job, because at least now they can just pivot all their attention on the wins in the Grand Prix and just the racing.
For sure.
I am very curious if more people will follow now that you've got one of the biggest figures in your team leaving. How many more people follow him, and how long?
Well, I mean, if you really look at it, the exodus of kind of brain talent from Red Bull didn't start with Newey. I can't exactly remember who the technical director that stepped down, and I believe they went to McLaren or Ferrari. One of the big Red Bull higher ups stepped down and kind of left left Red Bull quite a while ago. They went up to another one of the top teams, and ever since then it's kind of just been like little rumbles as to who's going to be next, because obviously we see when a team is dominant, a kind of staff and employees of that team, they look for new challenges. They look for something outside of the constant success. They want to build something else. And obviously now that there's all of this instability, if a team like, say, a McLaren, a Ferrari, somebody with a big budget, a Mercedes, comes to one of your more important technical officers and they say, hey, here's a chunky salary, here's a promotion, Would you care to join us? Now you've got the option of like a kind of a shambles of a Red Bull in your same current position, or you've got a new challenge in another potential front running team with an increased salary, increased position. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more kind of staff and technical members leaving Red Bull. I have no doubt.
Agreed. And yeah, again, it just poses the question how much drama has to boil and explode until he gets removed, or because I think some of the people, are sitting there looking. Pierre Vacher, I'm sure, is looking at this and thinking, I can either jump ship and save myself, or I just have to wait Horner out, and I've got a pretty good chance of becoming team principal.
Exactly that, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to put in one comment to the chat. Annalise said, no fucking way Harry would still have his back. The scary thing is, I'd just like to point this out again because I do not like Christian Horner. He had a first wife, got her pregnant, and during her pregnancy left her and went and started dating Harry. So he was probably cheating on his ex-wife with Harry. So don't get me wrong, I feel awful for Harry. This is a terrible situation to be in and in the limelight. But I think on some levels, her deep subconscious must have been fearing the truth for a while, because given how their relationship started, it's crazy how these things explode, and then you look back and you think, shit, why didn't we see the signs? And man, I would pay money to be Christian Horner's therapist right now, listening to how he must be complaining that now it doesn't look like he'll be able to match Toto Wolff's record of consecutive championships, because I know Toto Wolff takes up a lot of rent in his bid. A lot of rent.
Oh, for sure.
Because
for sure.
Everything he wants. Toto owns the team, owns shares in the team principal. Oh, buddy.
I really love the way Toto's playing this. Like, now that everything's kind of falling apart for Red Bull, every race he just looks so smug. And he's he's just sitting there and he loves it. He's such a little weasel. I love it so much.
And you can see his smile is that Weasley smile of life's good for me right now. I can't be shit, but the landscape looks good.
And I think this is actually putting kind of Toto on a pedestal to make a huge resurgence. They've got the capital to offer Max Verstappen that contract, and he's been sucking up to Max like nobody's business in the media, in statements, kind of behind the scenes, meeting up with Joss. He is sucking 100%. Up to Max, and kind of the premise of kind of, oh, well, your team's falling apart. Where did Adrian go? Oh, do you really think your team's going to be that competitive? What happens? What happens when?
What about your brand?
Exactly that. Kind of what happens when the PR boils over and then it kind of falls back on your lap. I don't know. I think it's kind of a double-edged sword as well for Toto, because it does, if he does it wrong, it kind of makes him look a bit desperate and it makes him look amateurish as to what he's not doing. But the fact that Red Bull looks like they're going to start falling apart, it really does give him a prime opportunity.
It is. I mean, Toto's doing what he's doing, and credit to him in how he's handling this, because I think some people would love to go out and be going sort of screaming and saying, look at this guy, and etc. So he's playing it pretty well, but from my perspective, it still sits bad in my mouth how much of the house they're willing to give Max Verstappen when you've got the man who won all your championships.
For sure.
And I know that's not the title of today's podcast, so I'm not going to go into it, but that sits a little bit salty with me, because I'm like, you guys want to talk about loyalty and all this bullshit. You guys have been waiting to get Kimi Antonelli in. That's why you're giving Lewis his short contracts. But now Max shows up and it's like, yeah, take the ambassador role. We don't care. Take it.
Yeah, exactly that.
But another day.
I just saw a comment popping up about Adrian Newey definitely retiring.
I don't think so.
I also don't think so. I think that Adrian Newey is kind of one of those people who's obsessed with his craft.
Yeah.
I think that he wants to do one more challenge and say, after that, kind of, if he manages to succeed, he'll hang his boots up and say, you know what, now I've done all I need to do. I've proved it, there's no doubt, I'm the one.
I've closed the book. I'm happy with what I've done.
According to, there's a very famous Italian motorsport journal. I can't remember the exact name. But
not Eddie Jordan's podcast.
No. But according to them, So Mr. Fred Vasseur, he had a flight booked to Miami on the 1st of May. Um, they got confirmation from the airliner that he was flying on that Fred Vasseur cancelled his departure and his tickets with immediate effect and redirected it straight to London, which is where the residence of Adrian Newey is. Obviously, he's also one of the residents, yeah, obviously. But
other ones in South Africa, woo!
Exactly that. But Adrian Newey and Fred Vasseur did actually meet up in London. They had a kind of a little chat about it. Obviously, there's been nothing confirmed or no confirmation or no further reporting on the situation, but there was for sure a meeting that was conducted. I'm just wondering how much of the kitchen and the sink John Alkin and Fred Vasseur are willing to actually throw at Adrian. Because, I mean, granted, yeah, Adrian is a huge member of a lot of people's success, and it would be very beneficial to have him on the team. But you've already got a situation where Red Bull's kind of falling apart. Mercedes is almost nowhere. McLaren is looking like your biggest kind of R&D rival. We're coming into a new regulation patch. Is it really that needed to go and throw that much at Adrian Newey for just literally a consultation role?
I think so.
I think it would be, but it's completely depending on how much money and resources that they're willing to actually put into him. I know there was rumors flying around a bit that they would have given him control of the road car division and they would have allowed him to design a Ferrari called the SF Newey, which would be that is a ridiculous fucking little piece of bargaining material.
That goes hard, dude.
That
goes hard.
It's a crazy little piece of bargaining material that they do have that like a Red Bull can't match. So we'll see what happens, but it just depends on how much they're willing to throw that.
Please read Garrick's comment about Ferrari and the Italian media.
You can never trust them. The Italians, don't be led astray. Have you seen what they've done to Ferrari? Hey, dude, come on.
Your man's butchering you, dude.
To be fair, the journal that I'm quoting, majority of the times they do report anything related to Ferrari, it comes to fruition. They are quite a trusted source of media. I know, obviously, there is Italian bias, like Italians love Ferrari. There is a whole lot of bias around it, but it literally wasn't a piece about anything other than they got confirmation from the airline that Fred Vasseur was supposed to fly with. He cancelled his flight to Miami and he rerouted it to London to go and have a meeting with Adrian. That's pretty much all that happened from that.
There's also a rumor in the rumor mill that his hiring to Ferrari will be announced after the Miami Grand Prix.
Brother. But you see, this is the thing that
and again, this is the rumor mill.
Yeah.
So
even if that does happen, bro, it really depends on what Adrian Newey can kind of what would you even say? Discuss, or if he can come to a settlement with Red Bull as to what his gardening leave period would be. Because if his gardening...
Well, so I've got details about that.
Okay, yeah.
So apparently, the and this is why it's so exciting. Sorry to cut you. I'm so excited about this. So apparently he's immediately moving on to the hypercar. So technically, his gardening leave apparently starts now because he's not in the F1 team anymore.
But what is the gardening leave period?
This is the cloud. A huge amount of time. It's like a year and a half or something.
I know. Essentially, in his contract, it said 12 months, but that's what I was trying to get at. Is kind of it depends on how well he can bargain and kind of discuss with Red Bull as to getting that gardening leave period reduced.
But I think the one key thing you're missing is the specialty of Newey is new rules. And I think that is also Adrian Newey's favorite thing to do is new rules, what can I do? So I think for him, I think he would much rather jump into Ferrari now, design the new car, get the new rules checked out, and then again just take a step back. What? Call me in 4 years when the next regulation cycle comes about. I'll do another drawing, off we go. Because I think a lot of people forget that he's not the technical director. He's kind of like a big... He's an ideas guy. he does a lot of influence, but he doesn't actually do a technical director role. That is, of course, Pierre Vacher. So, bro, the stars are aligning for a super team that we've never seen before in Formula One. I mean, you cannot deny every person in Formula One wants to work for the Red.
Exactly that. And I don't know who said it. I think it was Sebastian Vettel who said it best.
Yes, it was.
He said, even if you're not a Ferrari fan, you're a Ferrari fan.
Correct.
Everybody, Ferrari is passion.
F1.
It is motorsport. It is F1. It is the team of teams. To wear that red, it's more than just a job. It is a status symbol. It is something special, and I'm pretty sure Adrian at least wants to cap his career off with something like that. I think he's kind of in the same boat as Lewis. They want to try and get the Maranello based, or not Maranello, no, it is Maranello. That team based up back to glory days, kind of back into the era of a Ross Brawn, Michael Schumacher kind of dominant era. The only thing that concerns me is what if these 2026 regulations change? Because apparently, what is happening now is people are spinning on straights in tests, and they have to drive the car so slow that it's lapping slower than the current F2 cars. That is the current word on the rumor mill, but I guess we'll never see.
It's the active aero, isn't it? It's that the active aero is just not working the way people planned. I mean, to expand on that, I laughed when I saw that, because it's not like you got nobody's doing these regulations. I expect a lot better from Ross Brawn, to be blunt.
Exactly that.
He is also probably top 3 greatest designers, or let's say people in F1, because he was a designer, he was also a strategist, so we'll put him there. But come on, like, how are you having these cars spinning straights? Guys, it's 2024. We're like 5 months into 2024. You got a year and 6 months, 8 months. You got to start working.
Yeah, no, I don't know. And I don't know. There's a whole lot of factors that can now play into this. I think one of my biggest fears is that kind of Christian Horner, just out of spite, does not negotiate with Adrian Newey about gardening leave. My second thing that kind of in the back of my mind worries me kind of about an era of Ferrari dominance. There's this little thing on the horizon with the Aston Martin and Honda partnership, which is kind of, I don't know why it's giving me bad vibes and it's scaring me, but it is. I am very worried about kind of how successful that can be.
Well, at least Adrian Newey ruled out Aston Martin already, so...
At least, yeah. We can say that. I was quite nervous that he would have gone there. Obviously, he had the ties with the Valkyrie project. Kind of being reunited with Aston would have been a nice little reunion for him. But he hasn't ruled out Ferrari. Surely if he was going to retire, he would have just announced it. Surely he would have announced it.
I agree.
I think he would have announced... I think we would have seen a post, Adrian Newey to retire from Formula One at the end of 2024.
It would have been within the same press release. I completely agree.
Exactly that. So, we'll see.
Yes, so Garrick just backs up what I said, because yes, that's what I read. I just wasn't sure about the credibility, but yeah, apparently it does start now, and you'll be able to start early 2025 for Scuderia. But I think time will tell, because I am with Jordan. Christian Horner can be a little bit of an asshole, and if he really wants to be a dick, he's got the tools. But at the same time, there's so much power Adrian Newey holds.
Exactly.
At the same time.
I don't think we've ever seen somebody who's not a driver hold as much of a stake in Formula One as Adrian Newey has. Obviously, you had the likes of James Allison when he was designing cars for Mercedes. He was up there, but he wasn't kind of the star power that Adrian Newey has. And for such a private guy to have that much star power, I find it quite ironic that he is such a private individual.
That's exactly it, is that he gained all his star power from being him.
Exactly
not speaking, not doing stuff, no iconic radio messages. Like James Vowles is also a star, but that's because of his radio messages. Yeah, that's a good point, JB.
Exactly, and the one thing that I think, since, again, going back to, I think that the retirement would have been announced. I feel like if he wanted to get out of F1, he would have wanted to get out of it completely, have his name completely removed from everybody's mouths. The fact that he didn't do that, even though he is such a, it does mean that he has other projects in his mind, and
Very good point.
he wants to consider kind of all of the offers before he makes a decision. So let's see kind of what the meeting with Freddie Vasseur and Adrian Newey in London had. Hopefully it's going to be announced sometime soon. If that post goes viral, I mean, if that gets announced, bro, I might actually cry. That is like, that just feels like that is the whole puzzle. There's one little cube, and that whole puzzle will just be complete.
So I've been giving it a lot of thought, right? Because I don't want to be a fanboy that sort of just jumps team to team based on success, right? But there was a big star once upon a time that joined Mercedes that took me away from a Ferrari, and that name was Michael Schumacher. Now, considering this is how I got to Mercedes because of him, I'm thinking it's only fair if I go back to my roots. And
jump onto Ferrari.
The only thing holding me back is if I jump on Ferrari, I can't switch back again in my life. I don't know if I can do another 60 years after these 2 championships of nothingness again.
Dude, shut up. I promise you, Ferrari's cooking. Ferrari's got a plan.
You know what? They are cooking, and I think more than anything, this will set a precedent because, I mean, Frederick Vasseur, he will be able to, if he pulls this off, he'll be able to sit their company for 10 years. Adrian Newey will be happily doing just consultations for rule changes every time. And I think the main reason I want to switch is just because the life of Formula One is coming back.
Exactly that.
The soul of Formula One has hope, and the whole sport just feels livelier again. It is fantastic, dude.
Chris, I'm going to be honest with you, brother. I think you should switch. My reasoning. Being a Formula One fan, or should I say being a Ferrari fan, is very much being like a dying plant in the middle of the desert. There's never rain. There's never rain. It doesn't rain. Your plant doesn't, you don't get watered with a little bit of joy. But every now and then, when that rain comes, it is special. And it means something. It means a lot. It's not like a Red Bull fan who gets their satisfaction every weekend. We crave it. We cherish it when it comes. It doesn't come often, but we cherish it when it does. And then when it goes for the next 20, 30 years, then we kind of just recede and we wait for that next little bit of rain, and then it comes again. And it just... there's something about being a Ferrari fan and seeing a Ferrari win that
it's the drought that different. Gives you that's why it hits different. It's the drought.
Exactly that. The drought kind of... It shrivels you up to the brink of death, and then that little bit of success and rain comes in, and it's just like you're bathing in sunshine. It's so beautiful. You should join Ferrari. It's such a good team.
I'm not going to say anything concrete now because I do want to stick to it once I do, but I think one thing the sport is also lacking a bit now, and I don't think it'll ever go back, but you know, I do miss the days of the 2010s where it was, you're not really a driver supporter. You were a team supporter.
For sure.
And you used to fight other teams, and I miss those days because now it's very much driver supporters. So you've got flocks, and that's why I also feel bad. But, you know, Lando Norris changes team tomorrow. A third of McLaren fans are going to go with him.
Exactly that. And I mean,
that's fair, but I just don't know how I feel about that.
I also don't like it. I mean, dude, I don't care. You could have put Nicholas Latifi in a Ferrari. And he would have been terrible, and I would have shat on him every single day of my entire life, but I would still support Ferrari. That's kind of the way it's supposed to be. I think that like kind of drive to survive, to an extent, it gave such an insight into kind of the drivers behind the scenes and their personal lives, and kind of who they are behind the scenes. And obviously, drivers now, they're personalities. They're not just pilots. They're personalities, and I think that's why some people can just jump between teams, because they fall in love with a personality rather than kind of the team, the history, the heritage, the entire concept of what Ferrari or McLaren or Red Bull or Mercedes is. Like, I guarantee if 90% of the people who support Red Bull at the moment, as soon as Max leaves, gone. Red Bull will be a no-show again.
My brother, the whole of the Netherlands
Exactly
Like,
that.
the Netherlands treat Red Bull like it's a Dutch team. It's hilarious to see out here. Yeah, I completely feel you, and that's why I always love, and that's why we've discussed this before in the podcast. I've always had a special place in my heart for when Ferrari wins, and that's why again I don't feel bad switching. But man, just exactly you coined it perfectly. The history, the heritage, and yeah, that was a really good point about Drive to Survive. I think because of that, you're right. I don't think we will go back to teams, which to some extent is fair because you resonate with a person far more than a team. But man, the other day I was playing F1 and I looked at it and I don't ever think of going to Ferrari because I'm a fan of Merc. I just sat there and I thought, but the red, like
It
like
just speaks to you, brother. You're preaching
the
to the
red.
choir. Keep it coming, dude. I'm hearing you.
Like, you just sit there and that's exactly it. I really going. I can't say anything else other than what I said earlier. It's just when the red are in the mix, Formula One feels whole. It
Exactly that.
feels like Formula One. It's got soul. Because the Italians are beautiful. They wear their emotions on their sleeve. When they win in Monza, you will know
Oh
they
my
won in
God.
Monza from
Dude.
200 kilometers away. And if Ferrari fucks up a pit stop in Monza, believe me, you'll know about that too.
Exactly.
Because you will hear boos from kilometers.
I dare every single
I feel like
person
I'm driving Annalise insane with all this like twitching. Yeah?
to be fair, she'll probably also
Yo,
jump to
Derek's
Ferrari.
just shitting on Ferrari.
Dude, Garrick, shut up. Basically, okay, but basically, what I was gonna say after.
Hey, Kaden arrived.
Hey, what's up, brother? Everybody, don't click off this podcast. But once this podcast is done, go back and watch the scenes of when Leclerc won in Monza. Go back and watch the scenes of when Schumacher won in Monza.
Oh.
The view, the camera angle from when they're walking out onto the podium and they've opened the track to the Tifosi. And all you see down the fucking pit straight is red Ferrari shirts, gigantic flags, flares. I've still got, I don't want to really want to alt tab now because I'm scared it'll mess up the streaming settings. But my wallpaper on my computer is a picture of Ferrari on the grid, the whole team standing around the car, and the fighter jets coming over the top. The fighter jets coming over the top with the red, white, and green smoke coming out of the back of them to make the Italian flag. That is heritage. That's history. That's passion. Where do you see that for a Red Bull, for a McLaren? Where do you see that? You don't see that anywhere else in Formula One except for the Ferrari.
I agree.
Sorry, you got me on a tangent now.
Yeah. Okay. Let's
jump
Let's
back.
go back on topic. I was trying to think about where we jumped off, but man, the Ferrari is just such a special breed.
Exactly.
You gotta give.
I'm glad I'm not alone anymore. Okay.
There was something. Wait. There was something else I wanted to really touch on today. Oh fuck. Okay, go. No, it's gone, brother.
I was gonna say we should both. I think we should.
Andretti.
Oh yes. Yes.
So, I don't know if you've seen, and again, the most American bullshit ever. Bro, 12 Congress members have now sent a letter to Liberty Media saying that it violates their anti-monopoly laws, etc. like that. And you just sit there and you're like, yo, that is crazy.
But again, we've spoken about kind of Andretti's movements before on the show. I respect the hell out of what they're doing. They're saying, hey, Formula One, eat it. We're doing it. We've put a fucking base right next to your track. We are now getting Congress involved. I think it's just so beautiful. I think it's about time, bro. Because, I mean, kind of Liberty has had a chokehold over Formula One, and as Liberty says, goes. And I just think it's refreshing to have kind of somebody on the outside saying, hey, that's not cool.
But it's just so American to me because it's like, what are they going to do? Like, at most they can say you can't race in America, but even that, that's drastic. far stretch.
Exactly
But
that, yeah.
that was interesting. Credit to Andretti for lobbying, because again, also a super American way to get your way is you just pay enough to the politicians and off you go. But look, they're committing. They were also under a bit of fire from the F2 and F3 CEO because that Andretti has been speaking a lot about joining the junior categories, and basically the CEO said we haven't gone anything yet. They need to sort that out if they want to join.
Exactly that, yeah.
But man, oh,
Brother,
exciting.
I just think it would bring such a refreshing kind of feel to Formula One. Seeing a new, not only a new constructor, but a new car manufacturer in Formula One, because they've got the backing of Cadillac. And
Yes.
to get some authentic American muscle into Formula One, which has been...
And to help Americans get jobs, Jordan. That's all that these congressmen care about.
Exactly, it's definitely about that. I completely agree. Yes. Fantastic. No, but yeah, I really like what Andretti's doing. I do think that Liberty needs to take a step back and kind of look at the bigger picture of what's going on. They've got Haas, they've got Alpine. I mean, Alpine, granted, deserves its spot, but with kind of how terribly that they've been doing, I would
because the way
argue
I
yes.
see it, and even from the only reason I say no is because even like quite a few F1 journalists suspect that the main issue is that the team kind of Alpine and Renault treat it kind of as just a marketing plan. So they're trying to give as little money as they can to
Yeah, I
just
would-
go and then get disappointed when it doesn't work. So that's the only reason why I'm saying that I don't know if they deserve their spot. Because to me, if you want to be in Formula One, you got to commit. You got to commit the resources. You got to commit the energy.
For sure. I mean, I would probably argue that they do deserve it because, I mean, they are a car manufacturer, they are
That's
a works
fair.
team, they are somebody who's got some form of heritage. They are the
Thanks
French
for the
team,
clarification, Kaden. Carry on.
but as I was saying, they do represent the French side of Formula One. So I think that there's a good argument for that. But then
Okay.
you look
Sold
at
me.
you look at VCOB, you look at Haas, you look at Stake Kick. Obviously, Stake Kick is now getting taken over by Audi, which is fantastic. We love it when those kind of we want manufacturers instead of marketing gimmicks. And
I think V Club.
yeah, I think that they should sell. And I don't
Yeah.
know. Dude, speaking of VCOB's livery for the weekend, we can speak about that.
I don't know. It looks a little bit Formula One game vibes, if you ask me. It looks cool, but it looks like F1 game.
But
You know.
compared to what the diabolical piece of trash that Ferrari announced, at least
Everyone was so hyped for it to be blue,
Dude.
and we all knew it was gonna have stripes. Like, people
So-
were expecting Dynaco, bro.
so everybody kind of was expecting that. I don't know if a lot of people kind of know the reasoning behind the blue. Everybody kind of just obviously bunches it up to being because of the HP, the HP sponsorship. But Ferrari actually raced in blue and white back in the 60s. Essentially, Enzo
Yep.
Ferrari was told that, hey, you can't compete unless you can produce 100 of these cars. And he was like, how about 50? So basically, the FIA told him no. So in a little tiffy, he went to an American organization. I can't remember the name. And he basically said, hey, can I operate the Ferraris under your banner? And that company's kind of logos. Back in the day, kind of your car's color was determined by kind of who was what country you were racing for. So like Aston Martin green is America. Aston Martin green was England, and then you had Redfoot Italy. You had blue for America, and since they went to the Americas, the blue came through. But what a terrible livery. But VCOB, I like the whole promo they did with the VCOB car wash. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know if you watched the event at all.
No, I didn't.
It was actually pretty cool. So they had like a whole thing about a VCOB car wash, and the car kind of went in as one full color, and then as it came out the other side, it had all of the multicolor and the livery on it, which I thought was pretty fire. So yeah, I thought that was pretty sick.
That's cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this has been a good episode. I think let's wrap up with our Miami predictions. This is a good opportunity to give some predictions. I'll give mine, and then you tell me if you disagree. Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc.
I would swap 2 and 3. Just surely because Perez does not have a great track record around Miami. But neither does Leclerc.
I mean, he set pole last year.
Yeah, but I mean, he
He
just
came
got...
second last year.
But-
He led. The only person who took him down was Max.
But the gap between the Ferrari and the Red Bull last year was much bigger. Actually, Lando could be
Okay, that's fair.
Lando could also be a sneaky one this weekend. Because, I don't know.
I think it's too many straights. And it's too many slow speed corners, no.
But I mean, look at what happened. They said that they were going to be terrible in Japan. They said they were going to be terrible in Shanghai.
No, in Japan they were always going to be good.
Oh, right, sorry. They said they were going to be... They said they were going to
China,
be terrible in China because there was quite a lot of slow speed.
That's true, but I think Lando just managed his tires super well. I'm not counting it out. I'm more just giving you like like arguments, and I just don't buy Lando being third this weekend because there's too many slow corners.
Yeah, potentially.
It would
I
be
don't know.
exciting. Don't get me wrong,
I do-
because if Lando's in third, there's a battle and a half.
I still do think Lando will still have a really good result this weekend. I don't think the McLaren will be that bad. But yeah, I will bet on Max, Charles, Checo, top 3, Lando P4. And then the rest will kind of filter in as they do.
I'm gonna say Lando's like a P5. I do think that Ferrari is better balanced at Miami than that McLaren. I do think Lando will still beat Oscar. I don't know. He's having a bit of a sophomore year slump, unfortunately. But yeah, and I hear your criticism about them saying the similar thing about China, but China was also a funny weekend because the track wasn't used for a while. There was rain the day before, and Lando was in a really good position for the race, so he didn't. There was a lot of squabbling behind him, and he could just manage. Not saying what he did wasn't impressive. Don't get me wrong. That was a superb race by Lando. Absolutely fantastic management, but. Yeah, that's going to be mine. I'm going to say he's top 5, but 5th.
100%. No, I would probably put him in 4th. Again, my podium's not going to change.
Yeah, I get
I know you said that the Ferrari
100%
is quite balanced around there. Obviously, I don't know. Last year, kind of qualifying shook me off because we saw, I think at some stage during the weekend, we saw both Ferraris crash. And granted, they had a much more unstable car, a much more peaky car, but I can just see one of them having a shocker. So I think it would more likely be Sainz, in my opinion, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm not too sure. But for sure, Max win. No question.
Kaden, I think you forget he was on pole in the wet, which plays to the McLaren quite nicely because they got nice downforce. Again, not discrediting him, but I don't think that's a fair comparison.
Yeah, I mean, granted, he was on pole,
Again,
but
mega drive.
he was on pole. But what happened in the first corner?
JB is shooting the shots. I'm a bystander.
Dude,
Please,
I've been catching shots in the chat the whole day. I deserve to throw some out as well. I've been catching shots. McLaren's washed. Okay, no, never mind. Sorry. No, I'm joking. I do believe.
And twisted the knife, dude.
I do believe McLaren will have a good result. I do think, especially Lando. Obviously, you said Oscar's struggling a bit in his rookie. I mean, in his sophomore year. Again, I don't see the Astons doing too well around this track. I don't think they did very well last year. I think it was kind of a no man's land race for Fernando. He was in 5th the whole race, I believe. But yeah, we'll see.
Please don't piss off Kaden. He's someone who always comments. We gotta keep our commenters close. Garrett, Kaden, Annalise, we love you. Please don't leave us.
Dude, you know what? I'll speak to Ken off stream about it because there's.
Please.
I think it's justified what I'm saying. But anyway, guys, we're not going to keep it too long. So Chris, yours was Max, Perez, then Leclerc.
I'm gonna say then Sainz and then Lando. I think Oscar will finish 2 positions behind Lando.
I'll just swap around for the podium. I'll swap around Perez and Leclerc, but let's see what happens. Again, guys, thank you for coming in for the podcast. Obviously, big news dropped. We kind of wanted to just get on top of this.
Shotgun. Again, I'm here for content. I will shotgun a seltzer if Lando gets a podium. So,
I will.
Let's go.
The seltzer's a bit
Do you
low.
want the McLaren logo tattooed?
No.
The rest comes top 5.
No, not a chance. Not a chance. No, I'm not going to put anything on the line because there's a possibility of it, and if that happens, I'll never hear the end of it from a certain side of our commenter base. But
You see, I don't mind because either way I get to drink.
oh, valid. All right, but guys, again, let's not keep this going on for too long. Again, sorry we didn't stream on Monday. Life's been lifing. We've been kind of getting railed by life, as I said.
A lot.
So we are gonna get more religious. Kind of, if we don't upload on a Monday, we'll at least release a video during the week. And then obviously
Yep.
with all of the news dropping, we really wanted to get on top of it this week. So thank you all for kind of joining in for us for this podcast. We really enjoyed having you around. Thank you for sharing your comments, for your opinions. Well, most of them. But either way, Chris, again, as always, such a pleasure. Do you have anything you want to close on?
Likewise. No, excited for the weekend. I get to watch it with my dad this weekend, which is awesome because he's visiting me. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
definitely going to enjoy this race.
Yeah, the only
Even if it is Miami, which can be a bit boring, I'll make what it is.
yeah,
Make
the
most
only
of it.
the only cuck thing this weekend is it starts at 10 p.m. for us this side. So,
Yeah.
but oh well, I guess we deserve it. Some of the races have to kind of be out of our time zone. But
Yeah.
anyways, guys,
Yeah.
thank you again.
Thank you so much.
We will be uploading this again to Apple Music, Spotify. Make sure to go and follow us on those platforms, Instagram and X as always, and then make sure to like and subscribe down below. There's a little bell icon. Do turn that on if you ever want notifications for when we do go live. But yeah, I think we'll just end it there.
Cheers. Thank you.